Picture a battlefield where explosions shake the ground, bullets rip through the air, and Marines are pinned down with nowhere to go. In the middle of that chaos stands one man, wounded, exhausted, but still fighting. He could have taken cover, he could have waited for help, but instead, he chose to lead. In 1968, during one of the bloodiest periods of the Vietnam War, a Marine officer faced overwhelming enemy forces and refused to let his men fall. That officer was James Everett Livingston, and what he did that day would earn him the highest military honor in the United States, the Medal of Honor. This is not just a story about war. It is a story about courage when fear is everywhere, about leadership when everything is falling apart, and about one man who stood between danger and his Marines. James Everett Livingston was born on January 12, 1940, and grew up to become a United States Marine, a role that would define his entire life. He dedicated more than 33 years to the Marine Corps, rising through the ranks to become a major general, but it was during the Vietnam War that his name would be written into history. In this video, you will learn how Livingston faced impossible odds, how he inspired the men around him, and how his bravery saved lives when it mattered most. This is the true story of a Marine who never quit and never left his men behind. The jungle was alive with noise, gunfire cracked through the air, grenades exploded in the distance, and Marines were pinned down with no clear way out. In the middle of that chaos stood one man who refused to back away. He was wounded, surrounded, and outnumbered, yet he kept moving forward. This was not just another battle in the Vietnam War. This was the moment James Everett Livingston proved what it truly means to be a Marine. Every second counted. Every decision could mean life or death. While others fought for survival, Livingston fought for something greater, the lives of his men. He knew that if he hesitated, Marines would die. So he stood tall in the face of danger, calling in fire, directing troops, and leading by example. Bullets didn't stop him, pain didn't stop him, fear didn't stop him. Most people will never know what it feels like to be in a battle like that. But in this story, you will hear about one man who stood in the storm when everything around him was falling apart. James Everett Livingston didn't just fight that day, he made history. And what he did would earn him the Medal of Honor, the highest award a soldier can receive. In 1968, James Livingston and his Marines were operating deep in enemy territory. The area was heavily controlled by hostile forces, and every movement was dangerous. On one mission, Livingston's unit was suddenly attacked by a powerful enemy force. The enemy had superior numbers and strong positions, and the Marines were quickly surrounded. Explosions tore through the jungle. Gunfire came from every direction. Marines took cover, but the enemy kept advancing. The situation was becoming desperate. Many men were wounded, and supplies were running low. It was the kind of moment that breaks even the strongest soldiers. Livingston knew that waiting would only make things worse, so he did something extraordinary. He moved into exposed positions to direct artillery and air support. He walked through enemy fire to reach wounded Marines and encourage them. Even after being hit by shrapnel and bullets, he refused to leave the battlefield. His presence gave his men hope. They saw their commander standing in the open, guiding them, fighting beside them. That kind of courage is contagious. Because of Livingston's leadership, the Marines were able to hold their ground against overwhelming odds. As the battle continued, the enemy launched more attacks, trying to overrun the Marines. Livingston was injured multiple times, but he kept moving, kept shouting orders, and kept calling in fire on enemy positions. His body was battered, but his will was unbreakable. At one critical moment, enemy forces were about to break through. Livingston personally led a counterattack, rallying his Marines and pushing the enemy back. He exposed himself to heavy fire so that his men could reposition and survive. Every step he took put him closer to death, but he never slowed down. Even when evacuation was offered, Livingston refused. He knew that if he left, the Marines might lose their leader and their morale. He chose to stay, to fight, and to protect them. By the end of the battle, Livingston's actions had saved countless lives. His bravery turned what could have been a devastating defeat into a victory. He didn't fight for medals or recognition. He fought because his men needed him. For his extraordinary bravery during that battle in 1968, James Everett Livingston was awarded the Medal of Honor. It is the highest recognition a service member can receive, and it is given only to those who show courage beyond anything expected. But Livingston didn't stop there. He continued serving the United States Marine Corps for more than 33 years, eventually rising to the rank of Major General. His final role was as the Commanding General of Marine Forces Reserve in New Orleans, where he continued to lead and inspire. Today, his story stands as a reminder of what it means to be a Marine: strength, loyalty, courage, and sacrifice. James Everett Livingston didn't just serve his country, he protected his brothers in arms when they needed him most. Heroes like Livingston don't seek glory. They simply do what must be done. And because of that, their names live on forever.